What are the best dividend stocks for beginners to buy right now, and what makes them so good for beginners to buy? Let's go ahead and break it down. All right, I think at this point we know what dividends are. So what I want to do before giving you the list is tell you how I created the list. I always think it is important to understand the context and the thought process on how I create these lists so that you know what you're getting into and whether or not it's going to be a fit for you. So the very first thing I look for every single time before I'm even looking at what the dividend rate is how well is the stock performing, because for beginners and any investor, I think it is more important for the stock to be moving up. Okay, I don't think it's great to have a stock that pays what you think is a good dividend if the stock is falling. I don't think that's helpful for anybody. So number one, the stock has to be up. I'll give you a quick teaser. The best stock on the list, actually I'll do this. The worst stock on the list is up 44% or 42% rather in the last year. That's the worst stock. Okay, so that gives you one indicator. So in this case, they're all in the S&P 500. They were all in the top 10% of the S&P 500. They all pay a dividend, and that is where I started to narrow down the list. So that's the lens that I am looking at. So I'm not going to do these in any particular order, but the first one here is Wrk. The stock symbol is WRK. They're a packaging material company. Up 27% in the last 6 months and up 56% in the last year. Now, the dividend yield right now is 2.45%. Now, I'm going to tell you now, okay, there is going to be somebody that usually is in the comments on Instagram or YouTube or somewhere like that. Oh, Kevin, there's a stock out there that's paying 7 or 8% on a dividend. Okay, fine. You can go and get that stock. But I'm probably going to tell you right now that stock is probably not going to make, or has not made rather, 27%. It probably hadn't made 45%. So you can take your little 7% dividend, okay, and get a stock that's making 2% on the side, right? So the way that the math works, I'm focusing on the stock gain and then getting the dividend and treating it as a bonus. Okay, I'm also going to give you bonus stock while I'm at it. Okay, next here is Targa Resource Group. That stock is the stock symbol TRGP. The stock is up 27% in the last 6 months, up 44% in the last year. Now this one pays 1.78%. This is in the energy space. We have talked about this company before, so this is the second time you've heard about it, but it pays a pretty okay dividend. I think we do need to also recognize the entire stock market is up. Okay, so you do have to kind of pick and choose, or actually you have a big broad space to pick and choose, but when the space is like this, the dividend stocks tend to be a lot less attractive. When you look at companies like, let's say, a Procter & Gamble, Coca-Cola, a Pepsi, those don't tend to grow as much because they don't seem as attractive. People start to really go and buy those dividend stocks in times of defense. This is not a defensive time. So finding a company that does well, like these companies have, that does also pay an okay dividend, that's what makes these companies special. Especially as a beginner, you get to make money on both sides of the equation. Next here is a company that I like. Okay, I really like this company and these types of companies. That's because it's AllState. Insurance is coming back around. I've been saying this for a while now, but AllState, ALL, is the stock symbol here. It pays a 2.2% dividend, up 30% in the last 6 months, up 45% in the last year. I think a lot of y'all may not remember why I like insurance stocks. The reason why is because you are required to have it, okay? Whether it's auto or home, you gotta have it. You gotta have it by law, okay? And whether you're Allstate, Progressive, or some of the others, they're just gonna sit there and collect the money. They have to, because you have to have it. Okay, and they're gonna be here. They've been here forever, and they're not gonna go nowhere. And we do need insurance because you don't want anything bad to happen. If it does, you want to make sure you have those things covered. So, you know, it is a cash cow business, and it's a company that I can't say has always been solid forever and forever, but over the last few years that we've been covering, it has been a very, very solid company. And again, the dividend is an extra bonus on top of that. Now, I've got two other companies I want to cover. Before I do, make sure that you sign up for our free webinar on how you can create your six-figure investing plan. I cover how do you choose your own stocks, how do you get that first 6 figures, and why it is so important once you hit that first $100,000. Show you how I did it and what happens after and why it's so exciting, because that is when investing really gets fun. When I first started, I wouldn't invest in nothing but $100 a month. Okay, and I had to take the steps to get there, and you can too. So I want to show you all those steps. It's free. The link is on the screen and it is in the bio below. All right, next here as we move up the list is IBM. Now this is the highest dividend here. IBM right now is up 31% and up 31% in the last 6 months, up 42% over last year. Again, I already mentioned the dividend percent. IBM, this is not the first time I brought it up. I want to say I brought it up maybe a year and a half ago. It's been a very quiet tech stock. I think when tech stocks were down in 2022, yeah, 2022 when tech stocks were down, I think I did a video about how IBM was the only tech stock that was up for whatever reason. We talked about it. I had invested in it. Then you guys saw me make money on it on public. It seems to be back up. Tech stocks across the board have been up, so it's kind of coming back in favor. It's one of the few tech stocks, not the only, it's one of the few tech stocks that do pay a dividend. And if you were to ask me to throw a dart and say which tech stock pays the highest dividend, pretty sure IBM has to be within that top 2 to 3. So IBM, very, very solid. They've been around for a while too, and they're definitely one of those more established tech stocks as well. So what comes in at number 1? This is the company that has made me some money. Okay, it's a company that you should know by now if you are a subscriber, especially if you are insider members only. Now, the good thing is, you know, this company's maybe close to like $4,000. Y'all saw the receipts. That company is PACCAR. PACCAR is up 40% in the last 6 months. It's up 64%. Okay, 64% in the last year. We've talked about the company a few times before, and the only bad thing here is it only pays a 0.89% dividend. Now, in my defense, because I know somebody's like, hey, you talked about the best dividends. You had one that was up to, 2%, 3%, almost 3.5%. Now you give me something that's not even 1%. Now, remember the way the dividend percentages are calculated. The higher the price goes, the lower the dividend percentage does go. So there is that. But also the company is up almost 65%. Also, if you go back and check the video on how I made that $4,000, you'll also see how significant that 0.89% dividend is. Okay, you will see every single time that dividend paid out in the Excel sheet, so it does actually add up. In and of itself, I don't think it is the best, most golden dividend stock. I do think it is a good stock by itself. For beginners, it's something that is very solid. It has been solid for years. It's not something that you need to worry about, and you get a little bit of a bonus with the dividend. If you are somebody that says, hey, I really want to lean harder into the dividends and I still want some growth, then I would lean closer to the IBMs and some of the others on the list. But you don't have to choose. You don't have to just pick one stock. In fact, you should pick multiple stocks. You should never just put all of your money in one thing. But if you want to know how I made that $4,000, how it all works, and see all of the receipts, then you want to check out this video right here.